Well, now, I don't know whether you know this. You can't be rich trading your time. I repeat, you can't be rich trading your time. What does that mean? You see, when I say trading your time, this simply means that somebody has employed you somewhere, and this somebody has told you, be showing up to my job from 9 a.m. all the way to 5 p.m. Okay? Or maybe they can tell you show up from 7 a.m. Okay? By the way, when you say 9 to 5 is a proverbial term. Some people even go to their job at 6 a.m. 7 a.m. all the way to 10 p.m. or whichever the time it is, okay? Or maybe say you come from the Western countries, they tell you, hey, we're gonna pay you $15 an hour. That is our rate. That is our average income. You'll be like, yeah, this company is actually okay. I'm being paid $20 an hour. Listen, you cannot be rich trading your time. You have to get time. You have to exist outside the time. You don't have to live in a life whereby it is time that defines how much you earn. Okay, let me say this. You cannot rent your time. You can't trade your time and you expect to be wealthy. You have to operate outside of time. How much you earn should not be confined within the parameters of time. And how exactly do you do that? This is when you can have systems working for you instead of you trading your time. For example, let's do this. Let's say you are you teach people something. Let's say, what do you teach people? For example, let's say you are a trainer. Okay, let's say you are a trainer. Okay, and you charge $20. Let's say you charge $100 per hour. Okay, so you charge $100 per hour. That's quite a good amount of money anyway, you know. But now the question is, how many people can you trade in a particular day? Feasibly. When I say feasibly, I mean humanly possible. How many people can you trade? See, let's say, for example, you can train, say, how much can you say? Let's say, for example, arguably you can train, say, at most you can train 8 people. And I think you'll be exhausted as nobody's business if you train 8 people. That means that you can manage to make $800. And I stand corrected. I mean, for God's sake, training 8 people for 8 hours, I'm telling you, it's tough. It's possible, but there are chances of you burning out. Now, the point is, if you're training people this amount of money per hour, you train 8 people or you train for 8 hours, you get this amount of money. Truly speaking, this is a decent amount of money. Are we together? Can you imagine you do that today, tomorrow, the other day, and such kind of a thing? See, now you can actually, now guess what happens now? Out of 24 hours, you've actually utilized 8 hours. Now, there are remaining how many hours for you to complete that? There are remaining, is it 14 hours? 14 hours there. Is it 14? No, 16 hours per se. You are remaining 16 hours that are not utilized. Of course, I know you need to sleep, that's what you would say. Now, the reality is, how can you be able to make this $100 and yet you are still sleeping? You are eating, you are with your families, you are enjoying, you're having fun, but the $100 is coming in. What? But Joseph, I have to train people so that I can earn $100. But how are you telling me that I can be able to make this without me doing that? Good. Now, this is where the concept of something like doing what? Scaling comes on. Scaling, to scale. How can you scale this business? Because it's a very lucrative business. You know, you're teaching people. Now, guess what you do? Now, you can decide to be like, I'm training physical people for this amount of money. How about this? I make it easier for them as I make it easier for me. I'd be like, you know what? It's no longer $100 for that particular training. I'll be charging you half of this. Let's say $50 for an hour. Or I'd be like, you know what? You don't even have to come here. It's not even $50 to train you for a whole hour. You can get the whole, what do we call, training from class A. Let's say you're offering, say, 10 lessons. From the first lesson all the way to the 10th lesson. Now you say, assuming that if you were to attend all the 10 lessons, you have to pay $100 a year, all the way up to the 10th lesson. So it's, how much are we going to spend on that? It's 100 multiplied by 10, that you're going to spend $1,000 to complete that particular class. Say you are a trainer, and you know very well, by the time now they clock the 10th lesson, say they're going to be on themselves. Or let's say you are teaching something like a digital marketing, or there's something that you're teaching out there. See, now what happens now? You're going to be, so it's going to cost you a whole $1,000 to actually get all the 10 classes. Now, how about we do this? I ain't going to charge you this $100. and I am gonna tell you to come here. How about you do this? I charge you half of this, which is $500, and now you create what we call a masterclass. And then what you do, you actually sell that masterclass out there. You don't have to be a content creator. You don't have to, all what you need to do is when you are training, you record yourself. You just simply hire a cameraman and you tell them, hey, guess what? We're going to have a deal. You're going to record the 10 lessons. I'm going to pay you a certain amount of money. You get yourself a professional photographer or videographer, a good editor. They record what you're doing. You train them the lesson 1 to lesson 2, up to the 10th lesson, everything well stipulated and what have you. Then you create that whole masterclass, that particular package of a masterclass, and then you can sell it online. How do you sell it online? Come on, I know you're about to ask me, how do I sell it online? You simply go pay the ads. You can pay the Facebook ads, the YouTube ads, you can pay what you call the Google ads, you can pay on, you just sell those ads. How many of you do scroll on Facebook, then you boom, you meet something, you're like, oh my goodness, wow, I would like to buy this. Personally, I bought several things from that particular thing. You're moving and you're like, oh, these guys are selling, office chairs, like the chair that is, oh, I wish I could lift it. Actually bought it from Facebook. That table that I'm having out there, some of the things that I have in my house, I actually bought it from, like, you know what, these guys are selling at. You sell that masterclass there. So guess what now? You made that video. You can either decide to make a video about that particular thing, or you can be paying Google ads. That particular thing is being seen by the people. Then you can go do your things. And of course, there you provide where they can acquire that masterclass. There you also provide where they can actually buy it, the method of payment. They can actually do all the transaction in your absentia. They buy, they get the thing, and they just go on their way. So you'll be making this money, you doing other things. Guess now what you've done? You've actually snatched yourself outside the time frame. You're now operating outside the time, and actually you're getting your money coming in and flowing in. And that is exactly how you do not trade your time to make money. Because the moment you trade your time to make money, you'll always confine yourself. You are limiting yourself. There is always a limited amount of time visibly as a human being that you can do, that you can be able to earn. So by the time now you decide to go outside the time frame, that is exactly when you can be able to realize selling more money coming in, and that is exactly how you can be able to do what? Not rent your time, but rather be out there, leverage, and do what we call the scalability of that particular thing. And by the way, I know this one day I'm gonna make a whole video explaining what is scaling, because whenever you meet the venture capitalists, these are people who fund the startups and what have you. They always ask you, how can we scale? How can you scale that particular business? Because if the business is not scalable, it is very hard to fund or to find funds for that particular business, because people can't throw their money into something that cannot be scaled. Are we together? Now, point is, when I say you're renting out your time, remember the concept that I gave you some times back when I told you, back then, people used to trade their time, energy, they still do, energy and skills, and they used to be given 3 basic things: the food, the shelter, and the clothing. They still do that thing. Now, back then, they used to be given those 3 things for free, probably, and people will say that was slavery. But now people said, hey, we need to be paid and do it by ourselves. And people are like, okay. The system was like, okay, fine. That what we were giving you, now you're outside the quarters where you used to live. Now we're going to pay you, go do your thing. But they made it sure that whatever they were paying for you, the food, the shelter, and the clothing, it is equivalent to that what they are paying you now to go care for those things. Now there you are, that money that was meant to cater for the 3 things, there you are, throwing parties, drinking, buying unnecessary cars, or now those kind of things. Guess what happens now? Money that was meant to cater for, even if you earn more money, be like, oh, Joseph, how about those CEOs who make millions? They are just being paid that amount of money. Okay, there are CEOs who are the founders of the company. There are CEOs who they are actually being brought to bring their expertise to exercise. You get what I'm saying? I'm not talking about the founders. I'm talking about those people who are employed. They just give you some nice, what we call sort of, allowances, like, hey, house allowance, difficulty allowance, standing and sitting down allowances, and what have you, just to sort of kind of excite you. They give you those painkillers, they kind of give you that thing, you feel, high and what have you, so that you can show up each and every time. You see, what happens is that even a lactating animal like a cow, when you want to milk it, you can just show up under their teats and start pulling their teats and get the milk. No, even if it's a dry season, you have to find nice thing, enticing thing. You give that animal, you like the dada, you get this, then you get what I'm saying? So the same case applies to life. So even if you're employed and earning good cash, so they do that to make sure that they contain you there because your skills, your expertise is benefiting them. Probably this message may not actually click to most of the people, but that is the truth. That is the concept. That is the happening that is out there. And once you master this, that you cannot rent your time and become rich, you need to exercise yourself outside that. That will be the first time that you're going to achieve what we call the freedom. Call it financially, socially, spiritually, whichever the thing it is, when you actually pursue the work than the job. This is Good Joseph, and as always, let's see you in the next video. By the way, don't forget, you can actually get that number of mine from the description of this particular video. Give me a call. Let's talk business. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.